Two-way tables and probability. All right, here's the state standard that goes along with this lesson and the success criteria. First, you need to be able to make two-way tables. You need to be able to find and interpret relative frequencies and conditional relative frequencies. Use conditional relative frequencies to find probabilities. All right, so quickly before we get started, one thing I want to say is there are a lot of new vocabulary terms in this chapter. So it's very important that each day that you go over the vocabulary and review vocabulary from the day before. Statistics, Prob and Stats is one class that most colleges are requiring now. So if you choose to go to college, Prob and Stats is something that you're going to see again. So that's why Algebra 2 is now incorporating more Prop and Stats. All right, vocabulary terms that you need to know. A two-way table is a frequency table that displays data collected from one source that belongs to two different categories. A joint frequency. Each entry in the table is called a joint frequency. A marginal frequency. The sums of the rows and columns are called marginal frequencies. So when we start looking at the tables, the entries in the table is a joint frequency. The sums of the rows and columns are called marginal frequencies. Joint relative frequency is the ratio of a joint frequency to the total number of values or observations. Marginal relative frequency is the sum of the joint relative frequencies in a row or a column. And conditional relative frequency is the ratio of a joint relative frequency to the marginal relative frequency. Again, there's lots of new terminology we're talking about. Hopefully, as we go through examples, some of these definitions will become more clear. Example 1, making a two-way table. In another survey similar to the one to the right, 106 juniors and 114 seniors respond. Of those, 42 juniors and 77 seniors plan on attending. Organize these results in a two-way table. Then find and interpret the marginal frequencies. All right, so I'm not really sure what they're planning on attending, but we're going to make a table and look at these values regardless. All right, so it says organize these results in a two-way table, then find and interpret the marginal frequencies. All right, so remember the numbers inside the table are your joint frequencies, and I added another row and column here in this table so that we can add the marginal frequencies as well. All right, so it says in a survey similar to the one we have showing here, 106 juniors and 114 seniors responded. Of those, 42 juniors and 77 seniors plan on attending whatever event they're talking about here, whatever the survey is for. Organize these results in a two-way table. Okay, so the first thing we know is there is a total of 106 juniors. So we know there's a total of 106 juniors. We also know that there are 42 juniors planning to attend. So there's 42 juniors planning to attend whatever this is. And then there's 114 seniors. And it says 77 seniors plan on attending. All right, so let's pretend like this is prom or something. We're talking about juniors and seniors, so maybe they're planning prom. They're trying to get a count of how many students are going to be there. All right, so now how can we find out how many students are not attending? Well, that's simple. We just have to subtract the number we know that is attending, and that'll give us the number not attending. So, don't know why my calculator's showing up twice here, but let's see if I can get it to work. All right, so we've got 106 juniors, and we know that 42 are attending, which means 64 are not attending. All right, and we have 114 seniors, and we know that 77 seniors are going to attend, which leaves 37 seniors are not going to attend. All right, so if we need to know the total number of attending, we just add that column. So we're going to do 42 plus 77. This is the total number of juniors and seniors attending, which is 119. And then to get the total not attending would be 64 plus 37, which is 101. All right, and the totals should be the same. So 119 plus 101 equals 220, and 106 plus 114 should also equal the same thing, 220. So making a table can help you organize your information, but you also can see that the numbers, these four in the middle here, these are called joint frequencies, and the ones, the totals, those are called marginal frequencies. All right, it says reading. A two-way table is also called a contingency table or a two-way frequency table. All right, and lastly, it says find and interpret the marginal frequencies. I think I already did this, but the marginal frequencies, again, are the totals. So 119 is the total of juniors and seniors together that are attending whatever event we're talking about. 64 plus 37 is 101, so 101 is the number of juniors and seniors not attending this event. And then the total number of juniors and the total number of seniors, and then this is the total number of juniors and seniors who are both attending and not attending. Example 2, finding joint and marginal relative frequencies. Use the survey results in example 1, which I've copied over here, to make a two-way table that shows the joint and marginal relative frequencies. Interpret one of the joint relative frequencies and one of the marginal relative frequencies. All right, so we made a table in example 1. Now they want us to take those and interpret. So it wants to show joint and marginal relative frequencies. So a joint relative frequency is the ratio of the joint frequency to the total number of values. So for example, juniors attending would be 42 out of 220 total, not the total juniors, but total attending would be 220. So we do need to make a new table to show these results. So I'm going to pause the video and go ahead and make a new table real quick, and then we will fill it in. All right, so I've got another table made that we can complete. And just to recap real quick, so this table here shows the joint frequency and the marginal frequency. So this one's going to be just a little bit different, joint relative frequency. So it's taken the joint frequency relative to the whole, basically, and then the marginal relative frequency. So this word relative has been added to the terminology that's basically saying we're going to take these values and compare it to the whole. So basically it'll be giving us a percent of what we're looking at. So for juniors, we're going to have 42 out of 220. And then we're going to have 64 out of 220. And then this would be the total. So it'd be 106 out of 220. And then for seniors, it would be 77 out of 220. And then 37 out of 220 and 114 out of 220. All right, so we're going to look at those percentages. So let's look at the first one here. All right, let's clear this. So we're going to do 42 divided by 220. Going to give us a decimal, and remember this is basically going to be moved over, well, it is going to be moved over 2 decimal places to turn it into a So that's basically 19.1%. So this first one here is about 19.1%. All right, so I've paused the video and typed these in here so they're easier to read. But 42 divided by 220, we said, was 19.1%. That is 0.191. It's about that. So I can't write the little approximate symbol in here, so it's going to say equal to, but just know that this has been rounded. So that's equivalent to 19.1%. Now we got to do 64.220. So 64 divided by 220. That's about 29.1%. So 29.1%. So 0.291. All right, so 0.291, for some reason it's not letting me type that in there while I'm recording. So let me go ahead and do these next two. So we've got 77 divided by 220, 0.35, and then 37 divided by 220. So that is the senior numbers here. So 0.35 and 0.168. All right, now the totals. So I took the 106 over 220 off because now that we have these, we can simply add these numbers together to get the total. Because if you remember, the marginal relative frequency is the sum of the joint relative frequency. So all we have to do is add across the rows and add down the columns, and that will give us the numbers that we need. So let's go ahead and do that. So we've got 0.191 plus 0.291. So that's going to be across for the juniors. And then let's go ahead and do the next one as well. So we've got 0.35 plus 0.168. That's going to be about 0.518. All right, now to get the columns added, we do the 0.191 plus 0.35. I've done that right here. It gives us 0.541. And then I'm going to add down the second column, 0.291 plus 0.168. And that's going to give me 0.459. All right, so it says interpret one of the joint relative frequencies and one of the marginal relative frequencies. So all right, let's just choose this one right here. So this is going to be 0.291. This tells me that approximately 29.1% of juniors are not attending whatever concert, whatever event this is, okay? And then let's choose one marginal one. Okay, so let's just choose this one right here. This one says 0.518. This tells me that 51.8, this is the whole row of seniors. So this tells me that 51.8% of the people attending the concert, the event, prom, whatever it is seniors. So you can look at each one of these to determine what the percent is. So this one would be 19.1, 29.1. Together, that equals 48.2. This one would be about 35%. This one would be 16.8%. Together, that would give you 51.8. And together, these should always equal 1. 1 should be the total. Where we rounded, it may be off just a hair, but not much. And then this one's 19.1% plus 35% gives you the 54.1. And the 29.1 plus 16.8% give you 45.9%. And again, these totals here should equal 1.